I still replay that night in my head, especially the last 10 minutes before closing. I was working late shift at a small 24-hour grocery store just outside Ohio. It was a slow store, mostly truck drivers and a few locals. That night, only 2 people were left inside when the clock hit 10:50 p.m. My coworker Brandon Lewis was at the front resetting the self-check machines. I was walking down aisle 7, checking for misplaced items like we always did before closing. The store lights always fell harsher at night, like they were exposing every corner a little too much. At 10:55 p.m., I noticed a man near the back freezer section. He wasn't someone I recognized. Tall, thin, wearing a dark hoodie, even though it wasn't cold outside. He wasn't shopping. He was just standing still, facing the frozen goods, not moving at all. I radioed Brandon. "Hey, do you see the guy near frozen foods?" Brandon replied, "There's no one on the cameras in that section right now." I froze for a second. I looked again. The man was still there. I told myself maybe the camera angle missed him, but then something felt wrong. The freezer lights were flickering in that aisle only. Just that aisle. At 10:57 p.m., I walked closer. The man still didn't move. As I got within maybe 20 feet, I noticed something worse. He wasn't looking at the freezer shelves. He was looking slightly past them, like he was watching someone behind them. I said, "Sir, we're closing soon." No response. I stepped closer again. One more step, and I swear my stomach dropped. His face wasn't fully visible, but I saw his eyes. They weren't blinking. Not even once. Then he whispered something so low I barely caught it. "Don't turn the lights off." Before I could respond, Brandon's voice came through the radio again, louder this time. "Get out of aisle 7 right now." That's when the freezer door behind the man slowly cracked open from the inside. I didn't even think. I backed up fast, knocking over a display. The man still didn't move, but I saw his head tilt slightly toward me like he knew I saw it. At 10:59 p.m., I ran toward the front. And that's when the store alarm for closing time started ringing. But it wasn't supposed to ring yet. The alarm should have gone off at exactly 11 p.m., but it started early, echoing through every aisle like something was forcing it. Brandon was already at the front door, trying to override the system. His face looked pale. He said, "I saw him on the camera now, but only for a second." I looked back toward aisle 7. The lights there were completely out now. Just darkness between the shelves. Then I heard it. A slow dragging sound from inside the store. Not from the freezer aisle anymore. From multiple aisles. Brandon grabbed my arm. "We're not alone in here." The emergency lights flickered on, but they didn't help much. The store looked longer, deeper than it should have. Like the aisles stretched farther than they did a few minutes ago. Then I saw him again. The man from before, but now he was closer to the checkout lanes. Still not walking normally. Just appearing slightly closer every time I blinked. And behind him, the freezer aisle door was wide open now. But it wasn't a freezer anymore. It looked like a hallway. Dark, wet breathing. Brandon whispered, "We need to leave. Now." We ran to the exit, but the automatic doors didn't open. They just stayed shut like the system had locked us inside. The man stopped near aisle 3. For the first time he spoke clearly. "You closed too early." The lights started shutting off one by one, starting from the back. Like something was swallowing the store in sections. I banged on the exit doors. Nothing. Brandon tried the emergency code panel, but it was dead. Then the man lifted his hand and pointed at us. And every refrigerated door in the store opened at the same time. But there were no products inside anymore. Just space. Empty, stretching space that didn't belong inside a store. Something inside those openings started moving toward us. Not fast, not slow, just certain. Brandon screamed, "Run to the back office." We bolted. I could hear footsteps behind us, but they didn't match ours. Too many, too uneven. We slammed into the office and locked the door. The lights inside were still on, but dimming fast. Brandon found a manual override switch and slammed it down. Everything stopped. Silence. No footsteps. No alarms. Just breathing. Then a knock came to the office door. 3 soft knocks. The same man's voice came through calm now. Someone always stays behind when closing time isn't respected. The lights in the office went out completely. When they came back on, Brandon was gone. Only his radio stayed on the desk, screaming static. The door was still locked from the inside, but there was a second lock now on the outside. I never reported what happened that night. The store opened again the next morning like nothing happened. Brandon was listed as a no-show and eventually quit. But I know what I saw, and I know I didn't leave that store alone. Because sometimes right before closing, I still hear 3 knocks, even when I'm nowhere near a door. Hey, it's Sarah. I used to work closing shifts at a small gas station just outside Dayton, Ohio. It was one of those places that sits half-lit near an empty highway where most people only stop when they have no other choice. That night, my coworker Jenna called in sick. I was alone. I remember checking the clock over and over, waiting for 11 p.m. so I could lock up and leave. The first few hours were normal. A truck driver bought coffee. A college kid grabbed snacks. Nothing unusual. Then around 10:38 p.m., the bell above the door rang. A man walked in. He looked ordinary at first. Early 40s maybe. Dark jacket, hands tucked in his pockets. But something about him felt off. Not his face exactly, but the way he moved. Slow, like he was watching everything at once. He didn't go to the shelves. He just stood near the entrance. I said, "Hey, can I help you find something?" He smiled but didn't answer right away. Then he said, "You close at 11, right?" I nodded. "Yeah." He looked at the clock behind me. "Good. I'll wait." That made no sense. People don't usually just wait inside a gas station like that. I tried to ignore it and went back behind the counter. But I could feel him watching me the entire time. 10 minutes passed. He didn't move. I checked the security camera monitor. On screen, he wasn't standing still anymore. He was slightly closer to the counter than before. But in real life, he hadn't moved at all. I blinked hard, thinking it was a glitch. Then the lights flickered once. When they came back, he was standing closer. Maybe only 10 feet away now. I stepped back. "Sir, do you need something, or?" He tilted his head. "You're alone tonight." It wasn't a question. My throat went dry. "We're about to close." "I know," he said softly. "That's why I came now." Something in my stomach dropped. I reached under the counter where we kept the panic button. He noticed and smiled wider. "You shouldn't do that," he said. I froze. Then the cameras behind me cut to static. Every single screen. For a second, the store felt quieter than it should have been. No hum, no fridge noise, nothing. Just him, standing closer again. And this time I was sure he hadn't walked. He was just nearer than before. The clock above me ticked toward 10:59 p.m. He whispered, "Almost closing time." And that's when I realized he wasn't waiting for the store to close. He was waiting for something else to start. I backed into the storage room without breaking eye contact with him. My hand was shaking so badly, I dropped my phone twice before I could call 911. The dispatcher answered, but the line crackled like it was underwater. Behind the counter, I heard the bell ring again, but no one should have been able to enter. I hadn't heard the door open. I whispered into the phone, "There's someone in here. I think he's trying to." The line went dead. Then I heard footsteps inside the store. Slow, calm. From the storage room door, I could see the faint reflection of the aisles. Empty, until he appeared at the end of one. Just standing there, watching the hallway to the back room. I don't know how he got there without passing me. My brain kept trying to explain it. Maybe blind spots. Maybe fear messing with perception. But nothing made sense. He spoke without raising his voice. "You're doing it again," he said. My skin went cold. "Doing what?" "Closing," he replied. Like all the others. I didn't understand what he meant, but I knew I needed to get out. I slipped through the back exit into the alley. Cold air hit me like a shock. I ran toward the main road, waving my arms at passing cars. One finally stopped. An older man rolled down his window and asked if I was okay. I tried to explain, but when I looked back at the store, the front lights were still on, and he was standing inside the glass door, watching me. not moving, just waiting again. Police arrived 10 minutes later. They searched the entire station. No sign of forced entry. No footprints. No security footage after 10:41 p.m. Everything after that timestamp was corrupted. They told me it was probably a malfunction mixed with stress. But here's what I never told them. When I went back the next morning with the manager, Jenna's car was still in the parking lot. She never came home that night. And the schedule showed she was never supposed to work with me in the first place. Sometimes I still hear the bells sound in my head when a door opens behind me. And I always think about what he said, like all the others. Because I don't think he was waiting for closing time. I think he was waiting for someone to be alone enough to notice him. This is the story by Sarah Collins.